Here we go.
Let's Speak Geek.
You're listening to the Geek Speak Radio Show
On the Geek Speak Radio Show.
Welcome to the Geek Speak Radio Show. Hi, Romo.
What's going on, man?
What's going on?
Nothing much, but
What's going on?
I had a good weekend.
Me too.
Football was good.
Had a good Monday night. So welcome to the Geek Speak Radio Show. I'm Henry. He's Romo. We're going to keep it a little shorter this week because just because we can.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do a 2-hour long show. Good shows, but we get tired, really.
So how long is this show going to be?
Not that long. Not over 2 hours, that's for sure. So here we go. Are you ready? Because here we go. Before we do anything else, let's throw out the questions for the Walt Disney Family Museum. Still giving away a family fun pack. Listen, the rest of the month, we got what, 2 weeks to go in November? So you've got two or three chances left to get your passes to the Walt Disney Family Museum. And yes, the new exhibit, the Disney Artists Holiday, cards exhibit, long title, I know, but all it is holiday card, the Christmas cards designed and drawn by Disney legends, but none of them have a Disney character or are Disney themed.
Yeah, it's just holiday.
What's it about? What is it? Get some of these tickets, you'll find out.
Yep.
So, you know how to do it. Here are the questions for this week. Romo, you do the honors this week.
All right, first question. Name the musical cartoon series launched by Walt Disney Studios in 1929. Second question. True or false, Lily and Roy knew Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs would be a huge success. Third, Walt Disney holds the record for Oscar nominations and wins. What are those numbers? And the last one, true or false, Peter Cullen voiced Mickey Mouse.
Well, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to answer it. It's up to you guys. Again, go to our Facebook page or on geekspeakradioshow.com on the main page. There's a link to that. You can send an email to me or post if you want to brag to everybody. Look, I know everything Disney. Just post a bump on our Facebook page. We'll randomly pick one of you to go 4 passes to the Walt Disney Family Museum and a collector's pin that you can only get at the Walt Disney Family Museum.
Sounds like a good deal. Especially it could be
especially the price. Free.
Well, yeah, and especially that's during the holidays, so it's great for the family to go and do something festive.
Nothing more family than anything Disney.
Yeah.
Okay, so as for this show, this episode, and we will repeat the questions again, and again, we'll post them up on geekspeakradioshow.com in case you guys have a short attention span. Hello, over
like
here.
Me.
Yeah, you. We'll do it later on in the show. But as for our first guest, we had him on actually last year, Geppi's Entertainment Museum in Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah.
This is something that, if I wasn't doing this show, this is something I would have started. It's a museum that has everything pop culture.
Yeah.
We call it geek culture, but it's the same thing. It's got some comic books. It's got toys. Well, okay, action figures.
Lunchboxes.
Yes, even some of the ones that I used to carry when I used to go to school. I used to hit people with them.
And even original toys from back in the day. I mean, a lot of this stuff is collector items, too. So it's a really cool place.
Yes, and
I've seen it on television.
They do have a copy of Amazing Fantasy number 15.
Yeah.
Spidey's first appearance.
I mean, everything that's in this museum is... I mean, I could spend all day there.
Yes, and you don't have to do that because coming up in just a few minutes, we will talk to Andy Hershberger, Associate Curator of Geppi's Entertainment Museum in Baltimore. Stay right there. We will go to Geppi's Entertainment Museum.
Geek Speak Radio Show will be right back.
What do you really know about the life of Walt Disney? Okay, you may know some things about Mickey and Disneyland, but if you think you know more than that, feel free to say something now. We thought so. If you want to get to know the Walt and Disney, the risk-taking and always inventive man behind the magic, visit the Walt Disney Family Museum, filled with interactive stories, movies, music, and original animation in the Presidio, San Francisco.
So how much do you know about Walt Disney? Everyone knows Mickey, but do you know his birthday? The name of Walt Disney's first animation studio? Here's a hint. It wasn't the Walt Disney Studios. Your knowledge of everything Disney will get you a family fun pack, which includes a visit to the Walt Disney Family Museum at the Presidio in San Francisco and a Walt Disney Family Museum souvenir. Just answer 4 Disney trivia questions and you may be one of the random weekly winners chosen throughout the month of November. The questions will be asked on the show and posted on the Geek Speak Radio Show Facebook page. Just post your correct answers and you may be the lucky winner of 4 tickets to the Walt Disney Family Museum and a special Walt Disney Family Museum souvenir. Plus, you'll get to see the new Disney Artists Holiday Wishes exhibition, making its debut this month. Get all the details at geekspeakradioshow.com.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Now back to the Geek Speak Radio Show.
And we're back on the Geek Speak Radio Show. Hi, I'm Henry. That's not Romo.
No.
He snuck out real quick. I don't think he's mad at the French thing, Grim thing anymore.
You know what? I think he is. You know what? Because when I came in, I said hi to him. He
ignored you.
Yeah, he ignored me.
Well, that's what he does every day anyway. But no, but I think I think he's cheating a little because I think he's going out to get a book for the Geek Speak Radio Show Book Club later on. So we'll see if he has a book later on. So, like I teased a second ago, let's go to Baltimore, Maryland. Not literally, but Geppi's Entertainment Museum. This is a museum that, like I mentioned, if I wasn't doing this show, this is something that I would have put together. It has everything pop culture in it. We call it geek culture, but same thing. Comics, animation, all kinds of things. Why am I trying to tell you about it? Let's speak to Andy Hershberger, Associate Curator at Geppi's Entertainment Museum. Andy, welcome to the Geek Speak Radio Show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Nice to be here. The couch is very comfortable.
Yeah, so let's get into the museum. Not literally, of course, but tell everybody about Geppi's Entertainment Museum.
Well, Geppi's Entertainment Museum was created by Steve Geppi. He's the CEO of Diamond Comic Distributors. He's basically the guy to get you your comic books in North America and most of the world. And he has a lifelong hobby of collecting. So he has all this stuff, and he thought, it'd be great to just keep it locked up in a basement somewhere and, shut it off from all light. And then he had another thought, which, that's stupid. I want to show it to everybody. So I want to create a museum that can show people all this wonderful stuff I created because I like it and people I've shown it to have liked it. So why not share it? Why not put it in a handsome, respectful setting? And we can all come take a look at Geppi's Entertainment Museum, the museum of memories in a way, pop culture with character, filled with comics and collectibles from the 1700s to the present day, featuring a phenomenal comic book room that features key issues such as Action #1 and Detective 27. You can literally stand 6 inches away from an Action Comics #1 or a Detective 27.
But you can't touch it, right?
No, unfortunately not. But we do have a kiosk in the room where you can read it. We can actually have a little computer screen, touch computer screen. You can read the Action Comics #1 Superman story, and you can also read Superman #1, see how the Action Comics #1 was basically repurposed for Superman #1.
You're talking like a computer display, right?
Yeah, computer display. No, we just have them out. Somebody comes in and says, I'd like to read that. It's it's only 10 cents. Why not?
Yeah, we have to make that clear in case somebody's getting excited, I get to touch Action number.
No. We don't go that far. But we do present it, but not in a museum setting, an elegant museum setting, I should add.
Yeah,
and really went all out.
The location actually is pretty elegant too. It's in Camden Yards, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in Camden Yards, Camden Station, which was originally a train station. Some interesting claims to fame. We had Abraham Lincoln's body apparently was kept in here for a couple of days. And during the Civil War, this is where the Union soldiers trapped themselves to keep from being killed by a Baltimore mob that had pro-Confederate stances. So we have a little bit of interesting history, and their ghosts show up all the time, and they're awestruck with the collection. They're just I'm so happy my spirit resides here, because not only do I not have to pay the entrance fee, but it is so awesome to be around all these collectibles.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys probably have a lot of famous ghosts there because of that.
Well, Abraham Lincoln doesn't show up as much as we'd like him to. And the Confederate soldiers aren't as elegant as they were in those movies Glory, where they seem all clean and have clear dialect. I can't really understand what some of them are saying. A lot of them didn't have teeth when they passed. So it's a very interesting experience. But I digress. I'm sorry. I get so hung up on the minutia of something that's not related to the actual museum.
No, that's fine. Again, we're talking to Andy Hershberger, Associate Curator of Geppi's Entertainment Museum, Baltimore, Maryland. You guys can go on the Geek Speak Radio Show website on our link section. There's a link right to them. Tell everybody what, without giving too much away, we do want them to go. What can visitors expect to see on a visit to the gem?
Well, what they can expect to see is basically just an overwhelming experience of pop culture paraphernalia. We have several galleries throughout the museum, each one dedicated to either a theme, like our comics Story in Four Colors comic room, or our Pioneer Spirit Baltimore Heroes room, to rooms dedicated to a specific era. Extra Extra covers 1776 to 1927. You'll see early Felix the Cat artifacts. You'll see artifacts related to Palmer Cox's famous brownies. You'll see stuff related to science fiction from the 1700s to 1927. A lot of amazing stories, magazines in that room. Original animation cells by Winsor McCay for Gertie the Dinosaur. Original animation cell from the Lusitania animation by Winsor McCay. Artifacts related to Buster Brown. Then we go to what we like to call like the Gateway Room, which is our 1928 to 1945 room, when heroes unite. Here we have Mickey Mouse appear and Superman appear, and we have Betty Boop artifacts, Flash Gordon artifacts, Buck Roger artifacts. That we have a example of the decoder badge Ralphie used in A Christmas Story to discover that the Ovaltine thing was the Little Orphan Annie thing was just a plug for Ovaltine. We have a pay voucher for Siegel and Schuster from 1939, where you can see that for less than 20 pages of Superman, in the biggest comic character after Donald Duck and Captain Marvel, they got paid the righteous sum of $195. You will also be able to see comics from World War II, superheroes beating up the evil Axis. Then we'll go over to the next room, which is 1946 to 1960. America Tunes In. You get to see a bunch of vintage television sets, broadcasting shows from the time. You get to see a lot of science fiction artifacts from that period, the stuff we like to say really helped influence the creation of Star Wars, the resurgence of science fiction on television, and thanks to the bombing of Hiroshima and the launch of Sputnik 2, important incidents in American history, science fiction really got a hold on everyone like it had never done before, and took off into very fanciful ways. And I'm not saying it never did it before. I'm just saying that it seemed to entrench itself in pop culture in an unprecedented fashion, because it was around from the 20s, 30s, 40s, H.G. Wells, even before that. But really in the 50s, it seems to become the way we view it today, sort of the template for Star Wars and so on. Then we go from that room, which also has a lot of Mickey Mouse artifacts, because the Disneyland show was very popular. Disney maintained his hold on popular culture till he died in '66, which is where our next room is. 1961 to 1970, Revolution. Here you get to see artifacts related to the Beatles. You'll have toys related to Flintstones, Jetsons, the Hanna-Barbera line that so many of us love, even though they're so awful on several levels, with the exception of the Flintstones, which is darn awesome in so many ways, and not to discount the Jetsons, which have quite a few.
I was going to say, what about the Jetsons?
Well, you know what? Forget I said anything negative about Hanna-Barbera. There's quite a lot of good stuff, and I would not have had the same childhood if it wasn't for Scooby-Doo. So forget what my goatee-wearing evil twin, who's actually me, just said. That room also has a really cool display on Batman. A lot of people get thrown by that because Batman was created in 1939, but in 1966, Fox was looking for a campy show to do sort of a pop culture take, and they settled on Batman. And Batman's sales apparently weren't doing that well. He was sort of a middling character. In fact, there's some people have said that DC was actually considering killing off Batman, just getting rid of the character outright. But the show revolutionized that along with Marvel and the Batman TV show, it really brought comics to the forefront. That became incredibly cool at that time to be a comics fan. There was so much excitement going on. Not only would you be able to read the magazines, but you'd have this show that sort of reflected the more Marvel than DC wacky sensibilities. And in this room we have stuff related to both DC and Marvel as well, including artifacts related to the Merry Marvel Marching Society, which seem to have gotten a more than an idea from the boys over at Mad Magazine. And we also have music, the Monkees, the Beatles. We have artifacts related to them, to the spy craze, James Bond, Man from U.N.C.L.E. And then 71 to 90 is our next room where we have Star Wars represented. We have the Transformers, which seem to be getting the biggest response with our student groups nowadays. It's like they see the Star Wars, but they always see the Star Wars. But the early 80s Transformers figures are like, oh my God, there was a gun transformer. That's so cool. It would just be lying on a table, and then it would turn into a robot and do something. They love that one. And we have Freddy Krueger
Megatron,
dolls.
in case anybody's wondering.
Yes. I'm sorry. I tried. We have Bumblebee there too, which is also a favorite.
What? You have Bumblebee?
Yeah, the little tiny Volkswagen Bug. That
I would say the original, the Bug.
Yeah, it's like they had to sex it up for the movie. Like, way to go, thanks. It's like I bought a Volkswagen Bug, thinking, all right, Transformers would be coming out, gonna get all the what the hell? It was, but we have Jaws action figures. We have movie posters. We have references to Charlie's Angels, artifacts from that. We have the new Kids on the Block doll tie-ins because, it's really nice to have moms come in with their kids, see those, and actually start to swoon a little in remembrance of the time in the 80s they almost passed out at a new Kids on the Block concert. We have Kiss artifacts, Michael Jackson artifacts. It's kind of interesting when I go through the museum or I give tours. A lot of times, people will be like, most of the time we have a very enthusiastic audience. People come in, they'll be overwhelmed by our lobby, which is filled with vintage posters and 2D art, and they'll just be like, oh my God, this stuff is great. But every once in a while, somebody will be like, a comic book museum? That's stupid. And then, they'll even talk like that. Yeah. That's their voice, every one of them, even the women. They talk like that when they don't like the museum. And then they'll come through, and at the end they'll be like, wow, I did not understand. I mean, it's like there's more than just comics. It's like memories. It's like I was seeing toys I played with when I was a kid. I was able to talk to my friends about stuff. There's like a lot of conversation after this museum. And it's really, really done in a really, that's it. Sorry, I failed my speaking without being redundant class in college. So
it's okay.
Anybody who's taking that, don't take the one at the community college. But the display, everything we try to make everything, we honor this. We don't just have like a flea market, everything put together. Not to put flea markets down, but that's for sellers. This is for display. Everything is tried to present in a very densely packed but elegantly expressed timeline that just shows that we really love what we're displaying, and we really love this history, and we love the material, and we want to honor it.
Yeah, like on this show, obviously everybody loves this stuff. We know it. We grew up watching it. But you just touched on something there. It is for somebody that goes in there with that voice that you made. It's a comic book museum. It's pretty educational for them too.
Oh, absolutely. And I think a lot of people, like to take one idea that was expressed to them in like a conversation over lunch and run with it, and never like think it through. Like this whole idea, this misconception of comic books as second tier entertainment. Coming into this, you get to see that they're not like slipshod products that are like, it's not like Marty's homegrown radio station where, somebody's just doing, that sounds so bad now that I said it. I don't mean like, it's not like something that's, somebody that's, it's not a product that's really was put together with no thought. These were like people creating interesting stories, pulling from the headlines. They had great artists. There's a lot of excitement. A lot of movies come from this stuff, and it's not like just white noise or stuff that's actually like, it's not the lead paint of entertainment. That there's so much you get to express. I mean, we even like to point out how comics, once shunned as an entertainment, like a mistake or even like something that could cause brain damage, is used today to even educate. Social stories, a method of educating people with autism. Basically, comic books. Comic books, a lot of people who teach autistic children describe how comics are one of the most important learning tools. They will actually establish a narrative that a person with autism can focus on in a safe fashion that won't startle them or alter their perception or distract them enough. It'll distract them into it enough so that it's able to educate. And then just the beauty of toy design, and from the 1700s to the present day, you really see that toys and all this stuff have an elegance to them, and how that changes through the era based on materials. Just because something's metal or plastic doesn't diminish the artistry behind it.
Okay, so we're speaking with Andy Hershberger, Associate Curator for Geppi's Museum, Geppi's Entertainment Museum in Baltimore, Maryland. Andy, I have a question for you. You sound so passionate about the museum. I'm curious to know exactly what were your passions growing up as far as comic books and TV shows. What were some of the things that you geeked out about?
Well, I was a big DC fan when I was a teenager. I read all the Frank Miller Batmans, and I didn't read all of them. I read The Dark Knight, basically, and that was like a wow point for me.
Okay.
I used to geek out on the Twilight Zone. Monster movies were a favorite of mine. I always liked to see what Godzilla was going to destroy that week. So Godzilla, Batman, Twilight Zone, science fiction, and horror, and probably Scooby-Doo was a big geek out factor, if I want to be honest, and Indiana Jones. Those are probably my biggest geek factors.
You know, that's interesting you say that, because a lot of people, whenever you ask the question, are you a Marvel guy or are you a DC guy? And it's always Marvel. So it's interesting to get your perspective that you're a DC guy.
Oh, I loved DC at the time. They had just gone through, this is like in the 80s, to date myself. They had just gone through a transformation where they started everything at one. And for a person like myself who always, when growing up, comics felt so, is particularly Marvel and DC at this period would always have these like reference issue number 123 to find out why Spider-Man has made this clever illusion that you will not get unless you accumulate 400 books. I always felt alienated by that, but then when DC revamped their entire line, I just got so excited with it, and they were putting out really good stuff. And I've talked to my Marvel friends. They say that basically DC at this time had humanized their characters in the way Marvel had done in the 60s. But I also tend to find that I'm not that big a fan of Stan Lee's florid writing. So I wasn't able to really identify with his characters because there was just something about the Marvel stuff that never really grabbed me. Maybe Captain America was pretty cool. And Spider-Man, everybody loved Spider-Man because he was on the Electric Company. But when it came time to actually collect, they just didn't have much like DC did. And also they were continuing. They didn't revamp their line. They had the like New Heroes or something at the period, like a 6 alternate universe title that I tried, but they just weren't delivering at that time. That's not to say that they probably aren't excellent overall. I mean, Federico Fellini, my favorite director, he thought Stan Lee was the greatest writer of the 60s. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, I am not as great as Federico Fellini, so don't listen to my opinion. Listen to Federico Fellini.
Yeah, and he is Andy Hershberger, by the way, Associate Curator at Geppi's Entertainment Museum. And let's take it back to the museum now. What special events have happened and are planned at the museum?
Well, we have a couple of surprises. We just ended a very successful run out of this world toys, 50s and 60s tin toys, focusing on both robots from Japan and America. A lot of TV show tie-ins like Tom Corbett's Space Cadet and Rocket Patrol, and variations on Robbie the Robot from Forbidden Planet, early remote control technology. That did very well for us. And before that, we had success with an Overstreet comic book price guide exhibit and Wizard of Oz. But the biggest thing we had done was Star Wars. We had a anniversary celebration in 2007 for Star Wars that was just phenomenal. And now we're looking forward to a couple of exhibits that we're finalizing on. So unfortunately, I cannot say exactly what they are. I can make clever sentences like, I don't know what they'll be, but they'll be plain crazy, which is really, unless you know what I'm talking about, will probably be like, wow, that's a really just, wow, I send that one out. But and then the other one is probably going to be related to a very popular group of people who were a group that toured around the country for a while and were very popular and are still popular and amazingly have been around for decades and are probably more popular now than they were when they actually existed, which as a group. So that's all I can really say.
Okay.
But about those. But we also have like every year I'm being a complete moron here. We have Zombie Gras coming up this year.
Okay.
Tying in with Mardi Gras. This is where people come to the museum dressed as zombies. We tie in with the local bars, and they do like a little zombie march. Sometimes they do a little parade right next to the museum. Sometimes they grab families and eat them because, you know, we have a lot of method actors in Baltimore. Then that's coming up soon, and we also every year have Mother-Daughter Tea Party. They haven't set the dates for that one yet, but that's usually in the spring. Last year we had Pirates and Princesses, which was very successful for us. Zombie Gras has just been like our new thing. We did that last year. It was a phenomenal success. We had also had a very big hit with a local artist named Devin Hannon, tattoo artist, who did reimagined pop culture characters reimagined as zombies. We had Audrey Hepburn eating eyeballs. We had Dark Knight sucking entrails off the floor. We had SpongeBob decomposing Patrick with his brains oozing out of his skull. You know, stuff that children walk in the room and go, and this is in sincerity, not being sarcastic, we're like, wow, this is really cool. I love this.
Yeah, I'm sure
we
they
had
do.
the Stay Puft not the Stay Puft Marshmallow, the Stay Puft Pillsbury Doughboy, you know, rotting away, and that did very well for us, and that started the zombie thing, which ties in well with Baltimore because we have a lot of zombie-themed events. We have a zombie marathon that's happening where you have to race from zombies. But being a Romero purist, I don't get it. But I do love Return of the Living Dead, so maybe I should.
Yeah, let me digress for a little bit. Again, you know, we are geeks on this show, and we've spoken to Robert Kirkman and some other people that do zombie stuff. Let me ask you, why do you think zombies are so popular now?
Well, I think zombies. Well, that's a very good question, and my personal theory is mobs. I think people are right now noticing that the world is becoming, some would say overpopulated. I don't really know. I don't talk to the Earth directly to ask it what its limitations on population are. But I think that there's a lot of people are living in more and more what they would say crowded conditions, and with the increase in the population, I think people are, one of the fears, the horror is it takes a fear and it turns it into a metaphor or something, and the metaphor of zombies is for mob mentality, and it's really the fear of the mob. And it also could be, that's one idea, but these things are like a tapestry.
Yeah.
Another idea is it's real, it's cathartic. You're walking around, suddenly everybody turns into a zombie. Well, there's got to be at least 5 people you hate in that group. And how do you get rid of them? You shoot them in the head. I mean, come on, that's like therapy right there. Like, zombies, who do I get to kill?
Yeah.
It's like you're pushing people into decomposing corpses so they could tear them apart just so you could kill them later. But, and I think that... fear of the unknown. I think the zombies that are around today, I would say, are really vampires. I know people will argue that, but you don't put a stake in their heart. You put a bullet in their head. It's just a anatomical difference of probably about 2 feet. They bite you and you turn into a zombie. And in fact, vampires, before they became romanticized, were pretty much the zombies we know today. In Romania, these decomposing, stinking people would walk around and bite you and turn you into zombies. So, I mean, vampires.
Yeah.
But not to take away from the glittering vampires that we have nowadays that are completely legit. And I don't mean to knock that, as my sister reads that series and is very happy with it. So.
Go right ahead. We do all the time on this show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So again, it's Andy Hershberger, Associate Curator of Geppi's Entertainment Museum, Baltimore, Maryland. Geppi'sMuseum.com is the website. Linked up on GeekspeakRadioshow.com. If you guys want to make it easy, just go right on there. One more thing you mentioned, we were talking before we started the interview off the air, something from DC that was just delivered there. Can you talk about that?
Oh yeah. We have a connection with DC Comics through Diamond, and they were recently doing some remodeling on their 7th floor, and had a really incredible statue, Superman descending from the sky. It's a floating statue that looks like a Superman actually landing. We have it suspended from the ceiling, and it was by Thomas Kubler of Kubler Studios, hung in the DC offices. And when they had to nix it from their new design plans, they gave it to us, and now you can see it in our museum. And on the opposite side, we have another Superman statue, so it's like you can see him on the ground and you can see him in the sky. You can't touch the one in the sky because he'll fall on you. No, actually, that won't happen. But you can't touch him because he's a statue. But it's really nice, and it's nice to have a piece of DC history in the museum direct from the DC offices.
Yeah, so a little bit of everything, like we said, pop culture, and we call it geek culture, but it's the same thing. So again, it's Geppi's Entertainment Museum, Baltimore, Maryland. If you're in the area, you probably have been there and know about it. If not, another reason to go to Baltimore. And again, all the links are up on GeekspeakRadioshow.com in our links section. And just so everybody knows, last question for me, let's close it out with the basics. What are the operating hours for the museum?
The museum operates Tuesday through Sunday, 10 to 6. The admission price is $10 for adults, $7 for kids. We do have half-price day on Thursday, and during any Ravens or Orioles game, we also are currently having half price. So that would be $5 for adults and $3.50 for kids. We also have a senior citizen discount of $9. We are always available for tours, large groups. If you want to get in touch with us, call us at 410-625-7060 and ask about our tour packages. And we're great for events as well. We just had a wedding here. People get married here quite a lot. They love this place. It really touches them in a way that they'd want to cement the relationship with their love for pop culture with getting married around it. And we also have tons of events. And we were recently featured on The History Detective, if you want to see us on TV, featuring a history of a particular comic book.
Yeah, so definitely a place you got to go. Geppi's Entertainment Museum again. Andy Hershberger, Associate Curator, thanks a lot for coming on and spending a few minutes with us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun. A pleasure. You're welcome back anytime.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye.
So there you go. Again, Geppi's Entertainment Museum in Baltimore, Maryland. Got the links up on GeekspeakRadioshow.com. It's something that I would, like I said, I would have started because I have, you guys have seen it. I have a big collection of not just comic books, but posters. They're all around here in the studio. Yeah. Not toys, they're action figures. Okay, some toys. I think Romo said earlier, lunchboxes, they're in there also. All kinds of stuff. And it's not, like you just heard from Andy, it's not just comics and animation. There's something, I forgot to ask him where the Disney stuff came from, because, we're doing the thing with the Walt Disney Family Museum.
Disney right now, yeah.
So I was wondering if they have something different than they do. So again, Geppi's Entertainment Museum, links up on geekspeakradioshow.com in the Baltimore, Maryland area. If you're there, you know about it. You've probably been there. If you haven't, all the more reason to go there. And $5, I think you said, during games.
Yeah.
Well, baseball's over, but football.
Football.
The way the Ravens are going, you probably want to leave the stadium anyway and go really get entertained there. I say that only because look how my team's doing. But we digress once again. So let's take a break. I think Romo's coming back. I see him over there. Actually, I'm glad he is coming back, because we're going to do something that's right up his alley. He's our resident X-Men expert here. Ooh, so we're going to talk X-Men in just a few minutes. Stay right there.
The Geek Speak Radio Show will be right back.
What do you really know about the life of Walt Disney? Okay, you may know some things about Mickey and Disneyland, but if you think you know more than that, feel free to say something now. We thought so. If you want to get to know the Walt and Disney, the risk-taking and always inventive man behind the magic, visit the Walt Disney Family Museum, filled with interactive stories, movies, music, and original animation in the Presidio, San Francisco.
So how much do you know about Walt Disney? Everyone knows Mickey, but do you know his birthday? The name of Walt Disney's first animation studio? Here's a hint. It wasn't the Walt Disney Studios. Your knowledge of everything Disney will get you a family fun pack, which includes a visit to the Walt Disney Family Museum at the Presidio in San Francisco and a Walt Disney Family Museum souvenir. Just answer 4 Disney trivia questions and you may be one of the random weekly winners chosen throughout the month of November. The questions will be asked on the show and posted on the Geek Speak Radio Show Facebook page. Just post your correct answers and you may be the lucky winner of 4 tickets to the Walt Disney Family Museum and a special Walt Disney Family Museum souvenir. Plus, you'll get to see the new Disney Artists Holiday Wishes exhibition, making its debut this month. Get all the details at geekspeakradioshow.com.
Get ready to speak geek. People who get it, get it. This is the Geek Speak Radio Show.
It is the Geek Speak Radio Show. Hello, welcome back. I'm Henry. He's Romo. So, good interview there. And now, this one is just for you. When I think X-Men, of course, I think right away of Wolverine, like most people do. I even think Stan Lee. I might even think Jim Shooter, who was the editor-in-chief at the time at Marvel. Mm-hmm. Dark Phoenix Saga. You might remember that one. Who was behind all that? Wasn't Stan Lee?
Chris Claremont. That's who I would think of.
So finally, somebody's gonna do a documentary on that. Mm-hmm. It's called Comics in Focus. Chris Claremont's X-Men. What else would you call it? The director is Patrick Meaney. He's on the phone with us.
Hey, Patrick. Welcome to the Geek Speak Radio Show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure. This, like I said, this is right up our alley here. So tell everybody about Comics in Focus.
Oh, well, the basic idea of Comics in Focus began after I completed 2 feature-length documentaries, Grant Morrison Talking with Gods, which is now on DVD, Hulu, etc., and Warren Ellis Captured Ghosts, which is currently screening around the country and had its premiere this weekend. So the idea with those films was to do something kind of very big, something that would be designed to be, super accessible for people who hadn't read a comic. The idea with both those movies was to make something that, anybody could go to and anybody could enjoy. The problem with doing that is that sometimes you sacrifice the ability to kind of go more in-depth with some of the works. So working with Sequart, I came up with the idea of making this Comics in Focus series, which is taking a shorter approach. They're going to be about 45 minutes and going really in-depth on a specific piece of comics history. So in this case, we're doing the Chris Claremont X-Men run, but we're throwing around other ideas for stuff which can range from exploring, different historical events in comics to other works, other creators, and just basically doing something that is the kind of like in-depth documentary work you've probably seen about, films or authors, but you don't see that much about comics.
Right. And as any X-Men will tell you, when you mention the name Chris Claremont, bunch of things come up. So how do you go about picking, or where do you even start, really, when you do a documentary on him?
Well, the reason I wanted to do the project on Chris Claremont is that I think Chris has kind of been, his importance to both, X-Men as a franchise and the comics medium in general has been really understated. This is the guy who made X-Men. You could say that Stanley created it, Len Wein created certain characters, but the characters that you know today, the format you know today, it's all Chris. And he's not really been credited with that. I mean, people will, mention, he wrote the Dark Phoenix saga, etc., but this is a guy who wrote 17 years of a single giant narrative about these characters, and it's really the only property in comics that's been invented in the last, 30 or 40 years and is dominant today. You got people like Batman, Superman have been around for, 80 years. But Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Storm, etc., these are all people or characters who have been invented fairly recently, and they're all due to this one guy. And we haven't seen that much about his life, about his inspirations, and about his, reaction to what the series and the franchise have become. So that's where I decided that it would be, an interesting documentary subject.
Yeah. To you, what do you think are his biggest contributions? Is it the stories, the characters, or just the fact that he just, like you said, he reinvigorated the franchise, the whole title?
I think it's even more than, reinventing X-Men. I think he basically made X-Men what it is. If you try to read the 60s X-Men comics, they're not that great. His stuff, I think, kind of invented a format that we've seen in comics, and we've seen even in TV. Stuff like Buffy the Vampire Slayer is clearly indebted to Chris's mix of, character-based soap opera where the emotional conflicts are expressed through giant superhero action. And the heavy serialization of the series is something we've seen a lot, in TV and other media that wasn't being done at the time, really. It's a 17-year story from one guy. And that's pretty crazy.
My obvious question would be, what took so long? Why not sooner to get this documentary out about Chris Claremont?
I think it's that, he kind of downplays, I think, sometimes his own contribution to the series. I know we were talking to him around the time the Wolverine movie was coming out, and he was like, well, it's not my movie. This is, Len Wein's moment. And it's like, yeah, Len Wein created Wolverine, but Chris wrote him and, made him the character he is. I think it's just, he kind of came out of a different time in comics, and I think X-Men has become such a giant franchise that, it's not really synonymous with one person. And it's harder for people to I think, understand, like, the contributions he made and how significant they were.
Yeah. Again, we're talking to Patrick Meaney. He's director and producer of Comics in Focus, Chris Claremont's X-Men documentary coming pretty soon. And without giving too much, what can we expect from the documentary?
Well, we shot a little bit, but we haven't been able to shoot that much yet. That's why we're running the Kickstarter campaign for it now. But we're going to have interviews we've already shot stuff with Jim Shooter, some current people like Matt Fraction and Jason Aaron who have written X-Men and are kind of indebted to what Claremont was doing. The most exciting thing for me was we shot a roundtable interview with Claremont and Nocenti, who was the editor on the series for a long time, and Louise Simonson, who wrote some of the ancillary titles. And Chris and Ann hadn't seen each other in, I think, 10 years. And it was really cool. They were just, sitting around looking at a box of her stuff from Marvel. So there were all kinds of, rare things that probably nobody's seen. Yeah. And we were able to shoot it and get the three of them interacting, which was really, had some great moments. And I think for people who, are interested in how the series was created, it's a gold mine.
Are you planning on talking to anybody who was inspired by Chris's stories?
Definitely. We talked, I I think one of the things that we want to do is kind of show how his work has made an impact and influenced current writers. So we've talked to some, contemporary X-Men writers. And I think also one of the things we're going to explore is kind of the legacy and the impact it's had on, I mentioned Buffy earlier, but I think, Joss came and wrote X-Men, a few years back. And I believe he said that Kitty Pryde was the template for Buffy. And if you think about that, you can definitely see it.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, talking to Patrick Meaney, director, producer, Comics in Focus, Chris Claremont's X-Men. I know you all want to help now. So Kickstarter campaign, like Patrick just mentioned, up on our Geek Speak Radio Show links page. It's all on there. How long is the Kickstarter campaign going?
It's going to be going for 20 more days. And we're not trying to raise a huge amount of money, but just enough to, be able to interview the people we need to and do it all right, bring it what it needs. So we've had a great response so far, and it's a good way if you want to, just pre-order the movie or check it out. This is a great way to support it in advance and, get your own copy.
What's your deadline? When are you hoping to finish production on it?
We're hoping to put it out in about March of next year. It's a little, shorter format than the feature-length doc, so it should be a smaller turnaround. So we're looking for the spring. If it takes a little longer, it might, but spring is the goal.
Okay. And have you, besides doing shows like this, have you taken it to like conventions or anywhere else?
This project?
Yeah. How are you getting the word on it? On it is what I'm saying.
Well, we've been sending out press release. It was awesome. I saw it today. The New York Times covered it in an article about Chris's archive being picked up by Columbia. So that was a surprise to see. But basically just putting it out to the same, network of people who've supported our stuff in the past and people, on Facebook, Twitter, et cetera, things like that.
Yeah, and we'll get the word out as much as we can, and because we have huge X-Men fans here, and a lot of it, like you said, is because of Chris Claremont. So again, it's called Comics in Focus, Chris Claremont's X-Men Kickstarter campaign. Go to geekspeakershow.com, the link section, it's all on there. Now on the website, I also saw, Patrick, that you say that if this one is successful, which I'm sure it will be, you plan on making this a series of documentaries?
That's correct. Basically, I want this to be kind of almost like a TV show where, you're going to have a new episode every couple months in this case, and they're going to tackle different aspects of comics history and different creators that are interesting. So we're also looking for people to kind of collaborate on some potential future projects. So if you have, a great idea for one of these, you can get in touch with Sequart, who's our production partner on this at sequart.org. Okay. And they, tell them what you think might be an interesting one, or just, talk with us about it, because it's really, it's a new idea, but I think using Kickstarter, using tools like social media, you can find an audience for that sort of stuff and people who are really interested in it, and, find a way to get it out there, which is exciting.
Yeah, so you're also co-founder and president of Respect Films. Talk about that.
Respect Films is a production company that I run with Jordan Rennert, and we've produced, with Sequart, our two biggest productions were Grant Morrison Talking with Gods, which was a feature-length documentary on Grant, who is, if you read comics, I'm sure you already have an opinion about, but I think the film, goes into his life, into his work, and shows how the two are really connected. And then more recently, we got Warren Ellis Capture Ghosts, which just premiered at the Napa Valley Film Festival and is going to be doing the screening circuit around. And it's a film that, I'm really happy with. I think Warren is a great storyteller, and he's a really fascinating figure. And we got the chance to interview a lot of awesome people. We interviewed Joss Whedon, Patton Oswalt, Helen Mirren, Will Wheaton for the film, and just really tell his story. And beyond that, we're also working on some original narrative projects as well. So Respect Films is booming, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, they're also going to be responsible for this one, for Comics in Focus, Chris Claremont's X-Men, talking to Patrick Meaney, director, producer. Again, we need your help. They need your help. go to geekspeakradioshow.com, our link section. It's all on there. That after the 20 days, do you plan on doing another Kickstarter campaign, or how do you, or no?
Well, that will cover this project. The idea with the Comics in Focus series is to use Kickstarter as kind of a sort of a trial for each of the ideas. Mm-hmm. We're going to put them up on Kickstarter, and if enough people support the project, we'll make it. And if we come up with an idea that enough there isn't the support for it, then we won't make that one. So it's a great tool because you're not going to put something out that's going to be a big, disaster and wind up sinking you from a business standpoint. You're going to know that people want it. You're going to have a direct route to the people who want it, and it's a great opportunity. So we'll probably do a Kickstarter for future productions, but this is all we need to do the Chris Claremont one.
Yes, I guess I never really thought of it this way, but I guess you could think of Kickstarter as kind of like a gauge to see who kind of interest is in the project.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when we were putting this project together, there was a question of is there an audience for this? Is there some people who want to watch something about Chris Claremont? And we had talked about it with myself and the people from Sequart. We're kind of like, what, is this something that's going to be doable? And then we put up the Kickstarter and got a really great response. And it made it clear that, yes, this is a project that's worth pursuing. And I think it's because I know for myself, there's filmmakers and subjects that I would give, a lot more than $10 for a movie ticket or $15 for a DVD to make it happen. And Kickstarter kind of gives you that opportunity to be like, I really want to see this made. Let me do my part to help it come into fruition.
Yeah, and once Comics in Focus, once this one is finished, how is it going to be distributed?
Well, the idea, we're going to produce DVDs, but it's intended largely as a download. So you'll be able to buy it either as a download for pretty cheap, probably $5 to $10. You'll also be able to buy the DVD. The plan now is to distribute through kind of internally through Sequart. They are primarily a publisher of books currently, but we can also distribute DVDs through them. So it'll probably wind up in Diamond. It'll be available at comic stores, available online, and we're going to kind of, once we get a bunch of them, take it to some TV stations and see if there's interest there too. Okay.
So, and again, we'll spread the word as much as we can on the show and tell everybody else about it. And everybody just go to geekspeakradioshow.com, the link section. It's all on there. Contribute to the Kickstarter campaign. I mean, come on, it's Chris Claremont, X-Men. How can you not?
We're talking. If you enjoyed, Dark Phoenix or Days of Future Past or any of those huge X-Men storylines, you'll get some great insights here.
Again, thanks a lot, Patrick Meaney, director of Comics in Focus, Chris Claremont's X-Men documentary coming soon with your help. Go to the geekspeakradioshow.com links page. The Kickstarter campaign is on there, and it's pretty successful, actually.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna jump in and help,
yeah,
because it's X-Men, Chris Claremont's X-Men.
Uh-huh.
I probably will too. And all of you do the same thing, and hopefully sooner rather than later we'll see this happen. You can see a little tease on their website that's also linked up on geekspeakradioshow.com in the link section. Where else would it be? It's on there. Take a little tease, a little taste of what it will look like. A conversation for the first time in a long, long time with everybody behind the Dark Phoenix saga.
I know, exciting.
Including, yes, Chris Claremont and Jim Shooter and some others. So, let's take a break. When we come back, how about we talk TV?
Let's do it.
TV shows, not just, hey, that's a nice TV you have. Okay, we'll do that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Maybe you can jump in. Well, maybe not. Well, maybe. You'll see.
Geek Speak Radio Show will be right back.
What do you really know about the life of Walt Disney? Okay, you may know some things about Mickey and Disneyland. But if you think you know more than that, feel free to say something now. We thought so. If you want to get to know the Walt and Disney, the risk-taking and always inventive man behind the magic, visit the Walt Disney Family Museum, filled with interactive stories, movies, music, and original animation in the Presidio, San Francisco.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, for our next attraction...
Back to the Geek Speak Radio Show. Now back to the Geek Speak Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Geek Speak Radio Show. Welcome back to you, I should say. I forgot to say. I'm glad you are back. You walked off last week.
Yeah. Because I just needed a little walk. That's all. Needed to clear my head.
Yeah, this will make you happy.
Thank you. Thank you. It does.
Yeah, so we did watch Fringe. I did watch it live, even though I said I would watch Fringe. But it's okay because technically we didn't have anybody on from either of the shows.
Yeah.
And the call is still out there. Yes, yeah, I know. Unfortunately, mid-season finale is coming.
Bummer. But thank you again for not having anyone from Grimm and keeping an open door for people from Fringe to come on.
David was waiting. He heard actually the whole thing. I told you he actually was laughing at it when I went to him because he was on hold when you had your little drama queen episode.
It's called a geek tantrum. That's all it is.
Geeky Queen is what it's called. No, but he was on the phone. He was on hold listening to all that. And like I said, he laughed at it. He thought it was fun. And he loves the fact that they're both head-to-head against each other.
Yeah, he loves
likes
it.
The competition. And he, like I told you all on the air last week, I agree with him. He thinks there's room for everybody for Once Upon a Time. By the way, I do want to talk about that. And it's not that. I've actually watched it. Okay, tell you what. TV talk time. Let's start with that. With Once Upon a Time.
Start it off.
The pilot, you and I.
I've seen it.
No secret. Didn't do anything for us.
I've seen the second episode.
Second, third, fourth. I've watched them. I like it now.
Really?
Yes.
That's when I stopped watching.
No, whoever got lost in the pilot, I'm telling you now, come on back because that's what happened to me. I honestly fell asleep during the pilot.
Really?
Part of it was because I was tired.
See,
yes.
I took a chance. I've decided to watch. At that time, I mean, I usually watch different things, so that's my time to, because I gave up on it. I'm sorry to say.
See, I'm the other way around. The pilot did nothing for me.
Yeah.
You remember that one time when we said, when you said, I think, last week, when we started talking about Fringe, you said, what about Once Upon a Time?
Yeah, but there's too much. See, I feel that this is the season for fairy tales, right? And so there only has to be 2 fairy tale stories right now that's going on. That's Grimm and Once Upon a Time, and I chose Grimm. Given that I don't watch it on Fridays, I just tend to DVR it and watch it another time.
Well, I did say, however, while watching Once Upon a Time, I still did say Grimm is better than this.
Oh, of course.
But it did get me hooked. I do want to see what's going to happen now.
See, I lost it because it had 2 storylines going on with the reality in fairy tale land and in our reality as far as them living a normal life. I just thought it was annoying. I couldn't really grasp it. And I don't know about you. Like,
they did it wrong in the pilot.
Yeah,
That's the first thing. Because they're still doing that now, but it's not as prevalent as it was in the pilot. In the pilot, it was like every 15 seconds going back and forth, like for ADD people.
Yeah.
Now, you spend an entire whole segment before you go to commercial in either one of the worlds.
Yeah, and I mean, I just felt that there's just too much fairy tale stuff. Next year, they're going to have the new Snow White movie coming out. Solid trailers. Trailers up already.
New Snow Whites.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of, I don't know. I'd rather just watch that than watch the TV show. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens with that. What's the other one? Grimm, speaking of. Grimm, another good episode. I like the fact, and David and I were going to talk about this on the air.
That was pretty cool,
the
bees.
Yeah, I like the fact that you can just jump into any episode and you don't have to really know any backstory.
No.
You can enjoy it.
I didn't even know what the bees were from.
It's the Queen Bee, actually. I forget what it is. It's not a Grimm, it's not a Brothers Grimm fairy tale. Uh-huh. I think it's an Aesop's fable, if I'm not mistaken. But it deals with something about the Queen Bee.
Yeah.
And I think it was one of because it always has a quote in the beginning from one of the fairy tales.
Yeah,
I think it was from that fairy tale where it says, "Be careful, she'll sting you, and then she'll come back and kill you," or something like that.
I like that stuff because it is kind of intriguing. These stories I've never heard before, so I do have an open mind to it. Just not on Friday nights.
I wish David had come on, or we'll probably have him on again. But I'll let him know that. I'll let you tell him because you got to be nice when they do come on.
Of course,
you can't just run out of here. But like our Geek Speak Radio Show book club, it's making you want to pick up books, the Grimm fairy tales, and actually research this stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Or go online and okay, let me just look it up. But I would rather you guys go to the library and pick up a book, a Brothers Grimm book, and check out the fairy tales.
Yeah, what's great about that happened to me with Fringe, learning so many about all these paranormal activities.
Fringe Science,
yeah.
It's not just the name of the show. There actually is a Fringe Science division in our dimension
that we know of.
In our dimension. So yeah, and speaking of, Fringe, again, it is back and just as good, if not better than before. It's kind of like my Green Bay Packers. Monday night. They heard everybody saying, "Oh, their defense isn't that great." Yeah, what do you say now? Same thing here. Fringe, I guess they heard us say, "Well, yeah, Grimm's okay. It's got a real challenge." It came out.
What do you want more of it?
What? Fringe?
Fringe, yeah. Was there some storylines that I want more? I want to know more about the shapeshifters, and I want to hear more about the observers. That's what I liked about Fringe.
I think we all want to know what's going to happen with Peter. There are some hints. I haven't said too much about this, but
spoiler alert.
There are some hints in some of the dialogue between John Noble and Josh Jackson, and I think even Anna Torv had some as Olivia, where they're kind of hinting at another alternate universe besides the two that we know already. I think that's what's happening. I think.
So you're saying because both universes are on one timeline that we all learned in the beginning, there has to be an alternate universe?
No, there seems to be another one that Peter Bishop the machine somehow threw him into this one.
What? You're tripping me out now. I feel like I'm on some drug right now. Wait, so you're saying that he's in a different... So the one we're watching with the shapeshifters, and this is a different... It can't be, though, because in the beginning, they both were talking, both alternate and...
Yeah, but I'm saying a third universe. There's some dialogue that makes you think that. I remember a couple of weeks ago, I turned to my wife and I said, I think Walter just said that there's a different universe besides the two that we know of already.
Man, I don't know. I have to look back.
See why we watch this stuff?
It's a mind bender.
See, again, if this happens to be the last season, I know I read an interview somewhere or heard an interview somewhere with Roberto Orsi and Kurtzman. They said that they've written the whole thing out, and the way it's going to end, not the mid-season, but the real season finale, it'll be either a complete ending to the whole series, or they could also leave it open to where if it does get renewed, it'll be there.
That's good. But I think it should be renewed. I mean, given that it's been...
Well, start watching live then.
I will.
What else? Oh, Walking Dead is another one. It's our other show. You're caught up finally.
Yeah.
I like him.
I like it too. I mean, it's zombies. I mean, given it's the holidays, I could still watch zombie stuff.
This past one, Chupacabra, it was called, the episode. That was a good one. From the past, including this one, the past three, they've really been moving the story forward.
Yeah.
I told you, I think it was in the second or third episode. I think it was the second one where towards the middle it slowed down a little. As soon as Carl was shot, the kid, it slowed down while they got to the farm. Now that we know what the farm is really for, now it's moving forward and it's introducing a whole new other story. However, the one thing that is, and I think you mentioned it last week, the girl, find her dead already.
Yeah,
the little girl.
I'm glad that they're realizing to move on because they mentioned some really key points about what it is to survive in something like that. That every day your decisions determine your survival, and I really like it. It feels very post-apocalyptic as far as like if something was to happen to
real.
Us. There's no real zombies minus
like crackheads. Oh wait, that's Producer Damien. Never mind.
No, but
not that he's a crackhead.
No, in San Francisco you see zombies all the time.
Yeah,
but
they're people in office.
No, I was thinking more crackheads and bums, but there's things I like that a lot of the secondary characters are having key roles, and you're getting to learn a lot more about them. And they're just not there; they're having backstories.
Like Glenn, Daryl, Dale.
Yep. So everyone is, it's kind of nice because it's just not about that. Sean guy who I don't like anymore.
You know what I like is the fact that, like, I think Producer Damon and I talked about it a few weeks ago, is that those of you who read the comic books, you already know, no big shock here, but you already know that Shane is dead by the third or fourth book. He's still around now. So they're doing a great job by making, like too many have said it. Jeff Loeb, Paul Dini said it. You care about the characters. You're starting to care about the characters. All of a sudden, they're going to die. So when they do die, see, you'll be the only one that cheers when Shane dies, if he dies. Not that I know. I don't have any inside information. I'm just saying if he dies. But when characters actually do get killed, it'll be that much of a bigger shock to people.
Let's talk about. Can we talk any spoilers about the recent show? Episode?
People have seen it by now. And if you haven't, then hurry up and watch it.
So we all find out that she's pregnant.
Yes.
And now we're trying to figure out if it's Shane or her
A zombie. I mean,
her husband.
Not that kind of show.
Yeah. Now, I know that storyline is not in the comic book because Shane is not alive at that time, or he's dead.
Yes.
What do you feel about that? That they're bringing new storylines that don't exist within the comic book?
See, again, that part of the fact that you care about those three characters, Lori, Rick, and Shane, that makes it that much better.
All right. Interesting.
Yes.
I don't know. I have a mixed emotions about it. But that's just me
because Lori kind of gave you the feeling that she doesn't really care about Carl because you remember she kept asking, not this episode but the one before. So what if he does that? What if he's supposed to be dead? Kind of like saying like, I don't care about the kid anymore. Just let him die. So and Rick looked at her with the what the hell?
Yeah.
What, you don't care about the kid anymore? Mm-hmm. So this kind of throws a new wrinkle on that. So it'll be interesting to see where they take that character arc.
They do.
So let's talk about my favorite and your not so favorite, Terra Nova.
It's all right.
I liked it again. Didn't lose me.
I saw the episode that I didn't watch, and it was pretty cool. I agree that the graphics, visual effects look great on the dinosaurs now.
Yeah, I told you, it looked like the one you saw was the one with the Spinosaur. Yeah. It looked like just like a scene right at the end of Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah, it looked good. But other than that, I mean...
So, good job, Sean. Shawnee Watch.
Other than that, I guess...
There's a compositing on it.
The storyline, I guess, I just gotta wait. It's the first season. What could I say? It might get better.
Well, see, and we kind of mentioned this with Sean when he was on with us. That's how the studio, they set themselves up for failure because no big secret. In fact, they talk about it every interview that they could. How much money was put into the show, into the effects? The fact that Steven Spielberg is behind it. Brandon Braga is behind it. And then everything was fine. I told you the characters, I cared about them. I liked them from the second they were introduced.
Yeah.
But then the dinosaurs came on. And I said, what am I? Did I accidentally push the remote and I'm on the Sci-Fi channel?
The visual effects, to add to that, is a key component because first season, horrible graphics. There weren't that much blood. We wanted to see more of the lizard people. Then second season, we got to see what we wanted. And then it started to feel, all right, this has life. And then they pull the plug.
You didn't even have to go there. Walking Dead. Look at the makeup effects on that.
Oh, first season was great. First episode was great. Even the pilot was. Blood. I mean, are we trying to hint that people just want to see violence and blood? But no.
Yeah. That'd be nice.
But it is geek culture. I mean, we do play video games. We do read comic books. Violence and everything is a part of it.
Even Grimm, I would say. I didn't even complain about the fact that the morphine effect looks kind of cartoonish.
But I think it's fine.
I must say. The bee ones did look a little cartoony.
Yeah.
Especially the worker bees. Speaking of Star Trek,
I wasn't going to go there.
Nana Visitor was a guest this past week on Grimm. She was a queen bee. Mm-hmm. Hers looked a little cartoony.
I can agree. I just thought
But then the whole story was good enough that you overlooked that.
There you go.
See, with Terra Nova, the story is good, but the biggest draw is, hey, we have dinos on this show.
Yeah.
So that's...
I remember at WonderCon, the biggest thing was Terra Nova.
Yes.
And then Steven Spielberg's name was attached to it.
Yes.
Jurassic Park. And even in the pilots and the trailers before it premiered.
So what are we missing? We talked Terra Nova, talked Walking Dead, talked Fringe, Grimm, Once Upon a Time.
There's just so much out there.
American Horror Story. Do you watch that?
I want to.
Okay.
I know there's like 5 episodes in.
See, everybody's going gaga over it, but I got to tell you, when I watched the pilot, lost me. I have no interest in it.
Really?
It's there in my DVR, but I have no interest in it. I really didn't.
Interesting.
One that I am watching, that I started watching in the middle of a season, although it's not really episodic, is Paranormal Witness on Sci-Fi, speaking of.
Never seen it.
Very good. It's not Halloween anymore, but this will scare you a lot more than Paranormal Activity.
Really?
Yes.
Now, this is not Ghost Hunters, though, right?
No.
All right, because
this is a reenactment of real ghost stories.
Ah.
And there are some that are really, really scary. Do watch this with the lights off. You'll love it. Maybe we can get somebody on, not just because it's not just for Halloween, but obviously Halloween's over now. But we'll get them on and talk about it before we end the season.
Sounds good.
So let's end the segment. That's TV Talk. Coming up next. Yes, I'm looking at you. The Geek Speak Radio Show Book Club. You have something? Don't say anything. We'll find out. We'll leave a cliffhanger there. We'll find out when we come back. If Romo has a book or not.
Geek Speak Radio Show will be right back. Comics Commentary with David Lee on the Geek Speak Radio Show.
Hey kids, welcome back to yet another episode of Comics Commentary with me. I don't even have to introduce myself at this point. So last week I told all of you kids, all maybe 5 of my listeners, that I was going to flip the script next week and give you guys something different, something special. And I'm a man of my word. So instead of talking comics this week, we're going to go ahead and talk about comic book movies. Most of the comic book movies out there have been a dismal joke. I mean, I don't really need to bring up them. Several of them, because I'm not going to bother. This week's commentary is actually going to be specialized on Superman. Wow. What jerk decided that they were going to put Superman in the mothballs for 12 years after making 2 crap movies, deciding to switch directors in the middle of the second one, and also managing only to get 1 really good movie out? Yeah, that's right. We're talking about the older Superman movies first. Now, most of you people that are my age, 30 or so, can actually have vivid memories of growing up with Christopher Reeve as Superman. He was Clark Kent / Superman to me. Always was, always will be. Whenever I hear the strains of da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, I know that that's Superman. The first movie was amazing. You had the introduction of Superman. You had the introduction of Lois Lane. Gene Hackman's Luthor was just over the top and absolutely hilarious. And the guy who played Ned Beatty playing the role of Otis. And I don't remember her name, the chick who played Teschmacher. All great in their roles. Amazing. Gene Hackman was kind of a jerk because he wouldn't shave his head for the movie, so he wore a bald cap, but whatever. This movie was basically an opus. It was perfect. Really nothing wrong with it except for, well, let's go ahead and let's go fly backwards around the Earth and turn back time. What? No, that's not how it works. You destabilize everything and blow it up. Nah. Superman 2 was kind of a mixed bag, really. We got to see the greatest film portrayals of General Zod, Ursa, and Non. Because, come on, who doesn't remember, "Kneel to me"? Come on, who doesn't remember that? I thought it was one of the greatest lines in history. Problem with Superman 2, I believe, is the fact that they switched directors midway through. Richard Donner's version of the movie was going way over budget. It just wasn't working right, so they brought in Richard Lester. Oh boy, that one sucked. For the simple fact of, yeah, let's just throw cellophane S-shields everywhere. Let's give Lois a kiss that erases her memory. I don't know about you guys, especially Henry and Romo over there. I don't know about any of you guys, but I don't ever remember Superman having super kiss abilities. The less said about that one, the better. Oh, and let's not forget, let's get bombarded by red sun rays, and suddenly, despite the fact that Superman is Kryptonian, his DNA is Kryptonian, oh yeah, he sleeps with Lois. The repercussions felt 12 to 14 years later. We'll talk about that in a minute. Superman 3. Decent movie, pretty good in execution, I'd say, but the villains were just kind of, what's the point? I really didn't care about Richard Wagner's tycoon mogul guy. I was just like, this guy would be better dealt with by Batman than Superman. And the joining of Richard Pryor would have been great, but the directors were actually expecting him to ad-lib all of his parts, and Pryor was so scared that he was going to jack it up somehow that he stuck completely to the script. Bombing! That didn't work too well, now did it, ladies and gentlemen? Superman 4, not even going to touch it. I don't even need to tell you guys how bad that movie was. The only reason Christopher Reeve even did Superman 4 was in exchange for the rights to do a movie called Street Smarts, which I don't think anybody ever heard of. I mean, I had to go and look it up after I read the trivia. And then Superman went into hibernation for about 12 years. Nothing was seen nor heard of the Man of Steel. In that time, we got a full 4 movies of Batman. Actually, 5. We got 5 movies worth of Batman. See, what else did we have? We had 2 or 3 X-Men movies. The Crow 1, 2, and 3. Actually, 4. All 4 Crow movies came out. And so it was a big, big time for superhero movies in those 12 years. And then Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures decided to pull out the mothballs and bring out the Man of Steel again. This movie, I love it. I hate it. I hate to love it, and I love to hate it. It's one of those movies where there's just so many things wrong with it, but then again, there's so many things right. Let's start with the casting. I'll go ahead and point on the right things first. Casting. Brandon Routh is Superman Clark Kent. The first time I saw him, I went, I'm not sure about this guy. For Halloween, one year before he got hired on for Superman Returns, he actually did Clark Kent Superman as a costume. He looked pretty good. I'll give him that. It was just a t-shirt and a throwaway suit. Did pretty good. Story goes that when Bryan Singer met with Brandon Routh for casting, Brandon Routh was so nervous that he bumped over a cup of coffee on Bryan Singer or in his general vicinity, very close to him. That was what sold Singer on the fact that Brandon Routh could do it, because he was actually, without realizing and meaning to do it, he embodied the clumsiness of Clark Kent. Let's not forget the fact that Brandon Routh is a spitting image of Clark Kent, of Christopher Reeve. The two, you put them side to side, they look like they could be father or son or twin brothers. Very, very impressive. Kevin Spacey is Lex Luthor. I'm only going to quote one line that expresses all of my pleasure with Luthor. Wrong! Couldn't have been better. I really enjoyed him. And unlike Hackman, Spacey shaved his head off. The bad casting, Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane. What? No, it looks like Kate Bosworth could pull a Kate Moss from Family Guy. Wind gust, shray, she's gone. No, Lois Lane is supposed to be a powerful embodiment of the human female. She's got meat on her bones. She's talented. She works out. Someone shoot Kate Bosworth about 7 sandwiches, please. And then Tristan LeBeau. I don't want to say LeBeau because I don't think that's right. Tristan Lake LeBeau. I don't know. We're going to call him that. As Jason Kent. Ugh. Remember how I said earlier that there was going to be ramifications of Superman and Lois Lane's lovemaking round about 12, 14 years later? Yeah. Jason Lane, Jason Kent, I don't even know. The kid was a rugrat. Better left unsaid. But we'll discuss his character shortly. James Marsden as Richard White. Now, don't get me wrong. I loves me some James Marsden. But he left X-Men. That's why he had such a short role in X-Men The Last Stand, because he's filming for Superman Returns. He's Cyclops to me. He's not Richard White. I don't even know who the hell Richard White is. I don't think he was in the comics. Let's get to the plot, shall we? With Superman Returns, basically it's what it says. Superman returns from 5 years of being gone because Luthor's team completely foul-balled and sabotaged an experiment. Okay, why was Superman dumb enough to fall for this? He knew that his planet was destroyed. Can we say the words, oopsie? Sure you can. When they brought him back, Eva Marie Saint was playing Martha Kent at the time, and we didn't have a Jonathan because they were going half off of the first and second movies. Singer said, okay, well, I'm going to pull the best parts of Superman 1 and 2, leave some out, blah, blah, blah. Why did Singer not... Why did he bring in the fact that Lois ended up pregnant? Why? This movie ended up making Superman into super deadbeat dad. Superman would never do something like that. But apparently now he's super deadbeat dad with no backbone because he apparently can't tell Lois goodbye. I'm sorry, I don't buy that. Superman's costume was decent. You know, it looked worthy for Superman, except the shield was more of a harkening back to the early years with the small S shield, and it was a little bit of a graphical redesign. Colors were a little dark, and if you pay attention in the movies, you can actually see little S shields embroidered into the shield. And if you look at the bottom of his boots during the boat sequence, you can see that the boot heels are actually engraved S shields as well. Wasn't too thrilled with that part. So the plot basically goes that Superman's returned from 5 years, Lex Luthor's up to his old tricks, and somehow Kumar from Harold and Kumar go to White Castle's involved in it. I'm still kind of confused on that one. Parker Posey plays Lex Luthor's supposed love interest, to which he treats like crap, obviously. And they eventually find a way to get some kryptonite. They steal some crystals from Superman's home. In a great little nod to the first two movies, Kitty, Parker Posey's character, looks at Lex when they're in the Fortress of Solitude and goes, "You act like you've been here before." To which Luthor only gives the barest hint of a smirk. Great little reference to the first two movies. So, long story short, they combine the crystals with the kryptonite, EMPs go off in places, and it's up to Superman to save the day. Because Luthor's grand scheme of real estate is still in effect from Superman 1. Cue a big kryptonite island out in the middle of the Atlantic. That's pretty much your movie. The movie itself I thought was pretty good. It has some decent action sequences for Superman. Flying across the city at breakneck speeds trying to save everybody while getting out to the island. That was really good. Lifting up the island at the very end I thought was rather amazing. But I just kind of felt like it was a little lackluster. There were scenes that really didn't feel like they mattered to me. The scene where Lois and Clark are flying over whatever, the city I think it was, and he's basically saying, I'm sorry, da-da-da-da-da. What does it matter? Secondly, the sequence with the bank robbers where they pull out this huge old gun, they start going crazy, but nobody manages to get killed. Nobody. Watch the movie. Nobody dies. And then Superman just shows up and saves the day, and they shoot him in the eye, and it felt a little unnecessary. Now they're making a new movie, The Man of Steel. New costume based on the New 52. I'm not going to bother. I'm really not. After the very conflicted outing with Superman Returns and then this new 52 Superman, I don't know, WB. I'm not really sold anymore. You guys had the perfect chance to continue a great legacy with Superman. You guys decided to turn it into a superpowered episode of the OC or something. It could have been great. You failed. Superman didn't even hit anything huge. I mean, Superman is always known for his titanic smackdowns. Metallo, Parasite, Toyman. He's known for superpowered smackdowns. We didn't get one. The biggest smackdown we saw was when Lois Lane was browbeating him. Nah, I think I'll pass. Great movie, great idea, terrible execution. Man of Steel, not gonna bother. Sorry, WB, not this time. Maybe once you guys can get your collective super capes out of your asses, we'll talk again. Until next time, this is David Lee with Comics Commentary. We'll see you next.
The Geek Speak Radio Show will be right back.
What do you really know about the life of Walt Disney? Okay, you may know some things about Mickey and Disneyland, but if you think you know more than that, feel free to say something now. We thought so. If you want to get to know the Walt and Disney, the risk-taking and always inventive man behind the magic, visit the Walt Disney Family Museum, filled with interactive stories, movies, music, and original animation in the Presidio, San Francisco.
So how much do you know about Walt Disney? Everyone knows Mickey, but do you know his birthday? The name of Walt Disney's first animation studio? Here's a hint. It wasn't the Walt Disney Studios. Your knowledge of everything Disney will get you a family fun pack, which includes a visit to the Walt Disney Family Museum at the Presidio in San Francisco and a Walt Disney Family Museum souvenir. Just answer 4 Disney trivia questions and you may be one of the random weekly winners chosen throughout the month of November. The questions will be asked on the show and posted on the Geek Speak Radio Show Facebook page. Just post your correct answers and you may be the lucky winner of 4 tickets to the Walt Disney Family Museum and a special Walt Disney Family Museum souvenir. Plus, you'll get to see the new Disney Artists Holiday Wishes exhibition, making its debut this month. Get all the details at geekspeakradioshow.com.
Now back to the Geek Speak Radio Show.
We are back on the Geek Speak Radio Show. Hello there, I'm Henry. He's Romo. So, Romo, I'm looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a book?
You're in for a shock. Yeah, I do. And it's a good one, too. I think
you left me speechless. So, okay, then let's do the Geek Speak Radio Show book club with a pick, finally, from Romo.
It's a vampire novel.
Uh-oh. Do they sparkle?
No, it's not that type of vampire novel. It's actually out of the trilogy.
You mean a good one?
Yeah, The Strain. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan.
Say it like this, Del Toro.
Like that. But this one is the 3rd installment. It's called The Night Eternal. I don't know if I could give out, any spoilers, but because I want people to go and read this book.
Well, let me stop you. No, don't. Because it is very new.
It is.
It's so new, in fact, that it's in stores, maybe. It is selling out fast. Where did you find it?
I found it just at a regular bookstore. Boulders.
But did you ever read the first 2?
No. See, now you're going to get it to me. There's a saying, never judge a book by its cover, but this one had an awesome book cover.
Yeah, matter of fact, he's holding it right there.
Yeah, so I got it. You're not reading the first 2, but hey, what can I say, right? I'm going to go and read those 2 and then read, it's all good.
You're not a mile away from me, but you're across the console here. From here, it looks like an angel is being stabbed with a cross. Is that what grabbed you?
That, and plus, it deals with vampires, but it's not sparkly.
Twisted little kid, isn't he?
Not sparkly vampires.
Yeah, I do happen to know that. I haven't read this one yet. I'm gonna probably borrow when you're done, but I have read the first 2, and it is a different kind of like the Handling the Undead book. It's a different take on vampires. No, they do not sparkle, not even a little bit.
Hey, you're gonna go this weekend to watch the Breaking Dawn?
Yeah, on my way to go see something else. I'll pass right by. I was like, oh yeah, it's out. How about that?
Yeah. I'm not going to watch it.
So there you go. Romo's pick for the Geek Speak Radio Show book club is Guillermo del Toro's and Chuck Hogan's The Night Eternal.
Yep.
And the link is up on there now, right?
It is, yeah.
We're looking at you. So it'll be up there pretty soon. So there you go. He did have a book. How about that? You guys want to feature your books? You can. Books at geekspeakradioshow.com. Books at geekspeakradioshow.com. Sci-fi, fantasy, horror. This one obviously fits into horror. A little bit of sci-fi kind of also. No spoilers. Don't give it away. So there you go. Okay, we'll come back and we'll wrap up the show. Stay right there.
The Geek Speak Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Yeah, I said that.
What do you really know about the life of Walt Disney? Okay, you may know some things about Mickey and Disneyland, but if you think you know more than that, feel free to say something now. We thought so. If you want to get to know the Walt and Disney, the risk-taking and always inventive man behind the magic, visit the Walt Disney Family Museum, filled with interactive stories, movies, music, and original animation in the Presidio, San Francisco.
So how much do you know about Walt Disney? Everyone knows Mickey, but do you know his birthday? The name of Walt Disney's first animation studio? Here's a hint. It wasn't the Walt Disney Studios. Your knowledge of everything Disney will get you a family fun pack, which includes a visit to the Walt Disney Family Museum at the Presidio in San Francisco and a Walt Disney Family Museum souvenir. Just answer 4 Disney trivia questions and you may be one of the random weekly winners chosen throughout the month of November. The questions will be asked on the show and posted on the Geek Speak Radio Show Facebook page. Just post your correct answers and you may be the lucky winner of 4 tickets to the Walt Disney Family Museum and a special Walt Disney Family Museum souvenir. Plus, you'll get to see the new Disney Artists Holiday Wishes exhibition, making its debut this month. Get all the details at geekspeakradioshow.com.
People who get it, get it. You're listening to the Geek Speak Radio Show.
You are listening to the Geek Speak Radio Show. Speaking of superheroes, thanks David Lee for his comics commentary. Give us a taste of Superman today. I wonder why. Some of you have gone to our Geek Speak Radio Show Facebook page. He posted a picture of him as Clark Kent. Mm-hmm. That's actually his costume from Halloween. That's how he went to work.
I just thought he dressed like that every day.
Yeah, he does, but I mean, he's just saying that he just went to work that day. You're not supposed to say that he dresses like that every day.
Well, he is a geek, though.
Family secret, yes. You can tell from his comics commentary. So thanks a lot for that, David Lee. One more thing before we get out of here. You have the questions there.
Yeah, I do.
Or
yeah,
is that? Or is that your menu for lunch today?
How did you know? No, it's actually...
Because it's Romo.
It's the questions for our contest.
Okay, so family fun pack for the Walt Disney Family Museum. Answer Romo's questions. Go.
All right. First one. Name the musical cartoon series launched by Walt Disney Studios in 1929. Second. True or false, Lily and Roy knew Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs would be a huge success. Third. Walt Disney holds the record for Oscar nominations and wins. What are these numbers? And last but not least, number 4. True or false, Peter Cullen voiced Mickey Mouse.
2 true or falses this week. Mm-hmm. And that last one is, I think, a little too easy, but oh well, it's already out there. And it's up on the geekspeakershow.com page. Go to the link, answer it there, or Facebook page if you want to show off your Disney knowledge. Show off, post it, let everybody see it. Whoever we pick randomly this week, you will get 4 passes to the Walt Disney Family Museum here in San Francisco and a collector's pin that you can only get from the Walt Disney Family Museum. Not at the Disney stores.
Yep.
Not at the Disney parks. Only here. So.
Can you voice Mickey Mouse? Can you do a good impression of him?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I can't.
Take your hand.
Uh-huh.
Pull your underwear.
All right, I see what you're going. No thanks, but...
So there you go. That's our show for this week. Thanks again to Patrick Meaney, who was finally Chris Claremont documentary. It will happen only with your help, so go to geekspeakershow.com. The links section has all the information for you, right?
Yep.
Right. So next week, Thanksgiving show, we'll do it a little bit earlier. We'll post it a little bit earlier, but a very special show.
They're in for a treat.
It's a little movie coming out based on a book.
Yeah, I know.
The Invention of Hugo Cabret. Mm-hmm. The movie's called Hugo. You've seen it. It's Martin Scorsese's first 3D film. We're gonna have an entire Hugo show. We'll talk to Brian Selznick, the author of the book. We'll talk to Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a little busy. No, but an old friend of ours, Chloe. She'll come on. And perhaps a new friend of ours.
Hugo.
Asa Butterfield. Yeah, who plays Hugo in the movie Hugo. We'll have him. And another old friend of ours now, Marcos de Barros.
Yeah.
3D artist who worked on
Hugo.
So that'll happen next week. Be ready for that. And some other surprises. Maybe we'll have Romo eat turkey. See how fast he can finish it before the show ends.
That'd be fun.
Yes, and gross. So be here for that. Bye. See you then. Say bye, Romo. Bye.
That's all for this week. The Geek Speak Radio Show will be back next week with a brand new episode. In the meantime, follow them on Twitter at Geek Speak Radio 1. That's Geek Speak Radio, the number 1. Become a fan on Facebook. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes. If you like this episode, wait till next week. And tell all your friends, too. This is the Geek Speak Radio Show.